All right.
And I'm going to start this. Let me make sure this is still in focus. Okay. And now this is recording as well. Give me just 1 second to get this set up.
Okay. So you want me to ask my own questions?
You don't even have to ask them. You can just
Just
answer
talk?
them
Okay.
if you'd like.
All right. Okay.
Give me 1 second to get
All
this
right.
recording.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead and just start off telling me your first and last
All
name
right.
and saying
Okay.
I own.
My name is Joy Hellman, and I'm the owner of the Joy of Art Studio, downtown Southern Pines.
Say that for me one more time.
I am the owner of Joy of Art Studio in downtown Southern Pines. Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Is that loud enough?
Yep, that's perfect.
Good. Okay. Okay. I have been doing art since I was 3. My mother brought me home a tracing book, and I began to trace shapes. That was my first experience in drawing. And then when we went to Japan, I was introduced to art, but mostly
Joy, I'm sorry, that was my fault. I'm new at this microphone. I'm going to ask you just to start over from that question because I actually wasn't recording. That was my fault. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is an experience
A learning
for both
process.
of us. Yeah.
All right, I apologize.
I've done that before too.
All right, so you can just start.
Okay, I'll start over.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Joy Hellman, and I'm the owner of the Joy of Art Studio in downtown Southern Pines. I am an artist, a multimedia artist, and I'm also a teacher. I teach all ages, children and adults. I have been doing my business, the Joy of Art Studio, for about 25 years maybe. I was in Sanford before I came here, and I was in Sanford for 10 years. That's where I started really doing my business. And then I came here about 8 years ago. I was doing some in Tennessee as well. So I've had probably close to 25 years of teaching and working in this field. I started art when I was 3 years old. My mom sent me home, or actually brought me home, a book on tracing, and I was introduced to shape and line, and at that point began to draw. And also, when we went to Japan, I had a Japanese art teacher, and he introduced me to color and pattern and story, using art as a way of imagery, in art. And at that time, I think it's when I fell in love with color and what color could do, and how to use art to tell a story. And then when I was a kid, I did the things that, mostly kids do. I did cartoons, and I invented my own fantasy characters, and I drew lots of girls with big eyes and big hair, and, did a lot of all that kind of stuff. And then my mother was another one of my influences, and that she actually was the one who repurposed things. And in fact, I think that's where I got the idea of repurposing things that she found. She would go to thrift stores, and she would get fabric, and she would come back and she would make doll clothes and lots of things in relation to art. She did rugs, she did lots of things that was made out of found objects and throwaways. So I think that she was my next influence. And then I was in the hospital when I was 16, and I was being treated for anorexia, and at that point was working with an art therapist, and she introduced me to the power of imagery, collage, and using art as a way of connecting to your subconscious. And in fact, for many years, I wanted to be an art therapist. And that was another way of using art as expression and art to connect to the subconscious process, and also as art is healing. And so I then, well, I didn't really do too much in art because I was thinking I was going to become a psychologist, and so I kind of concentrated on that for a while. And then one day I was showing some things to a friend of mine, and she saw some little drawings that I did, and she said, she was an artist herself, and she said, "Joy, you really should consider going to art school." At that point, I decided to go to art school and did. And then when I came out of art school, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with all that I had learned. And at that point, I was introduced to the power of art in teaching, because I went to a center, a place where boys were, and they really needed someone to work with them. I created an art program and discovered the joy of teaching. I didn't actually, study to be a teacher. It was something that was totally natural. My mother was a teacher as well, so I kind of think I got that from her. Okay. That's kind of my history in a nutshell, but it's taken about 25 years to get to where I am. And it's been a process, too. The question, what makes me do art? Oh, well, I think I could not exist, I don't think, unless I was in some way creative. Now, that doesn't mean that I have to be an artist, because I think being an artist and being creative is two different things. I think that I'm naturally creative. I think everybody is, and but I work at it. I work at it because I allow myself the opportunity to be creative, and I believe that there's different ways of being creative. When will I stop making art? Never, never. It's like I will never stop creating. I will create for the rest of my life until my last breath. It is my passion. It is my breath. It is a part of me. It's not separate from me. So it's me, It's like me. And so when I no longer am doing art is when I am no longer joy, if that makes any sense. Okay, the question in relation to what art has done in my life, negatively and positively, I thought about that, and I think the positive part of my doing art is art has saved me. It saved me way back when I was in the psych ward. It saved me when I was in the hospital for multiple sclerosis. It saved me when I went through intense therapy for I guess my history and my childhood. It saved me when I dealt with the death of my mom. It saved me when I went through major, major depression. Okay. Art can save. And then because I believe that, I also work with other people who may be in a transition place in their own life, and I help them use their own creativity to express their feelings, to express what they're thinking, to express their memory. I've worked with a large variety of people, including people with disabilities, senior citizens, and I've worked with them in it's called reminiscing, which is using art and memory. I've worked with kids who had autism, and I've worked with people who have mental disabilities and chemical dependency. I've worked with abused women. I've worked with all areas of people that And because of that, I have done therapy.
And it's going again.
What's negative? Well, I think the negative part about my art in the fact that I am a multimedia artist and therefore I use a lot of recycled materials. I have the tendency to become a hoarder. I believe that artists that collage and do mixed media have a tendency to be pack rats, and they save material just for the sake of saving material. So I have a whole basement full of stuff that I have saved for many, many years, and I have to really, what I call, de-stash, and I started that last year. And so I think that artists who are media artists are much like magpies. They collect shiny objects, and they love, 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 love things that they find. And I do. And it can be a bit compulsive, and I am a bit compulsive myself. And so I can be obsessive compulsive in my art. And the other thing that can be negative is lack of focus. I am a very much a fickle artist in the fact that I go from one thing to another. It's not a bad thing because I love it and I enjoy doing all kinds of things, but it oftentimes keeps me from focusing on finishing projects. It causes me to procrastinate. It causes me to do a lot of head tripping, I guess what that's called, which means that I get a lot of ideas, but I don't do things with the ideas that I have. But I think that's a tendency towards, or tendency that most creative people have, is compulsive obsessiveness, and probably ADD. So I have that as well. I just work at it daily. The one thing that helps me to focus is my business. When I say business, I mean my teaching business. When I'm feeling out of focus and I have to switch gears to teach a class, that helps me to focus more. Also, because I have a business that has to make money in order to pay the rent, that also keeps me in focus. Okay? What is my favorite art to create? Oh, I forgot the question. Tell me something that most people do not know about artists or the actual process of making art. Well, I thought about that, and I don't think I can answer for anybody else but myself. I think that lots of people think that because artists are, quote, successful, that they never have problems with any of the things that they have problems with, basically. They think that we are immune to procrastination, immune to self-doubt, immune to lack of confidence, immune to fear, immune to all those things, but we're not. We have the same things that everybody else has who are just beginning. I think that it's something that is a part of being human, and also just a part of being a creative person as well. So you work at it every day. You work at it even when you're afraid, you do it anyway. You work at it even when you're procrastinating, you just start. You work at it every day when you're feeling lack of doubt and lack of self-confidence. You just do it anyway. You're going to have fears, you're going to have doubts, you're going to have anxieties. It's not going to go away, no matter how successful you are. People have a tendency also to look at people who are successful and say, I can never get there, I can never be where they are. But I don't believe that's true either. I think we all have been on a journey, and we all continue to be on a journey. Me too. I don't consider myself very successful. I look at other people and go, oh, she's so successful. I can never be that successful. So we always compare. But to me, comparison can really do you in. So the thing that I think is what's important is you just do what you do. You keep one foot in front of the other, and you keep on your own journey, and you do the best you can. And the other thing is you enjoy the process. You know, we always, we're such in a hurry to get to the result. But I really don't think that we should miss the process. The process is the magic, it's the fun, it's the joy. It's the joy of doing, it's the joy of being where you are, and I think that's the most important thing, is process. In fact, I think I'm more of a process artist than I am a result artist. I start my work and I just have fun with my work. I don't really think about, oh, it's got to be this way, it's got to be that way. I just do it. I'm very intuitive. I use my intuition in what I do as an artist, and so I really trust my own process. And I'll get into that when I talk a little bit about my recycle art project that I'm working on. Okay, what is my favorite art to create? Whoa, it depends on the day. It depends on the moment. Seriously, I go from one thing after another, and I enjoy every bit of it. I love, love, love working on my recycle project right now. I'm just in love with transforming plastic and transforming styrofoam and making beautiful jewelry and have people wearing it. I love making my dolls and using pipe cleaners to create angels and fairies. I love doing process painting and standing in front of a large piece of paper and just painting colors. I love drawing my fashion ab fabs and my girly girls and my puppies and I love it all. I love fiber art. I love working with my machine. I love it all. So I don't really have anything that I don't love about what I do in my creative process. There are things that are more challenging than others, and I continue to work on those things too. There's goals that I have. Each day I go, okay, I'm going to draw a little more. I'm going to give myself an opportunity to paint more. I'm going to do more digital stuff. I've got tons of goals, tons and tons of goals. That's not a problem. I'm a list maker. I'm one who really believes in affirmation. I'm one who really believes in intention. And I just try to do it a little bit better each day. Okay, my regular day at the Joy of Art Studio, that again has lots of variety. I think that's what I love about my work, is that no day is the same. I come in sometimes in the morning, early in the morning, and I'm here at the studio and I do my practice, which I have a daily practice of meditating and journal writing and things that really are my foundation. And then I start, and sometimes if I have a class in the morning, like if I have a class with one of my adults in the morning, I put the plan together for that, or that's when I have my classes usually in the morning I have classes for adults. And then I work on projects during that time, during my breaks. I work on things that I'm working on as an artist. I maybe do finish a project that I'm working on, or I start a project that I'm going to be starting. But it depends. I mean, my day, there's no sameness. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's just always different. And I have a plan. I write goals. I do a weekly goal list where I kind of put together what I'm going to accomplish. Usually there's more on the goal list that I can accomplish, but at least I put those things in writing. I have lots of things I do on the computer. I do online classes, online groups. So I make sure that I check in with my groups. I make sure that I post the things I need to post for my online classes. And I take care of all that. And I'm here till about 7 o'clock. And usually the reason why I'm here till 7 o'clock is because after the classes are all over, I take time to be in my studio all by myself. And it's a nice time to just, be in the quiet and at that time I listened to a podcast, and I listen to podcasts a great deal, and I have a couple that I really listen to. One is Creative Living Studio. I find that listening to podcasts is a way to feed my own inspiration. I love listening to other artists and other artists' stories, so I do that, yeah. Okay. What's my favorite type of class to teach? Boy, I can't answer that question either with just one answer. I can say that I love working with all ages. I love working with a 2-year-old and their moms. I love working with my little preschool emerging artists. I love working with my homeschoolers. I love working with my art camps. I love doing birthday parties. I love working with my adults. I love working with my art groups and my book studies. I mean, I love it all. I do. I love it all. I don't think that there's anything in what I do in the Joy of Art studio that I don't love. There are times that I get frustrated. There are times that I get discouraged. There are times that I want to just take and throw the whole thing out and just quit. There are times that I wonder, okay, what's next? There are times when I find myself overwhelmed. There are times that I get impatient with kids, you know. There's times when I want to just go. In fact, I have a tendency to go down into the basement. If I'm getting really upset, I'll go in the basement and really, you know, say what I want to say in my own basement. Then I'll come back up. I'll be calm. But that's what I use my basement for. I'll say to the kids, just a minute, I want to go downstairs and get something. And then I really, really get it all out. So it's better than doing, you know, getting, you know, really telling what some kid I have to really actually feel about that kid. So, I mean, I get impatient, and I sometimes feel like an org, although I don't think I am. I love most of my kids, you know, and I love what I do, or I wouldn't be doing it, because I'm not getting rich on it. Okay, tell me about your recyclable art. Well, that's an interesting story. The beginning of that started when I first started teaching art. I was working in a boys' residence, and I didn't have any material to work with. And I asked a question, basically, asked in meditation, and intuitively I received that I was supposed to start using recycled materials. So the coordinator actually called out, and she got all this recycled materials, and that is when I started working with recycled materials. It's a great thing to take something that belonged to somebody else and bring it in and use it for art, and that's how I started. But the actual jewelry thing that I'm doing now, that has a real interesting story in the fact that one day I was listening to a podcast. It's called Art and Healing Radio. And a woman was on that, her name was Judith Selby Lang, and she was talking about she and her husband going to the beach in California and cleaning up the beach with all the plastics that washed up from the beach. And something in that just clicked. Now, I realized I didn't have an ocean here or anything like that. I wasn't getting these fancy plastics that were 100 years old or anything. But I thought, what can I do? So I started collecting plastic. And I mean, I'm talking about water bottles and milk bottles and 7-Up bottles and all kinds of stiff bottles, plastic. And, you know, because my husband is totally, you know, by now, supports me in anything I do, he just let me collect it in my basement. And I began to paint the plastic. And when I started heating the plastic with my blow dryer to dry the plastic, it started melting and forming and taking on a shape. And at that point, I realized that I could take plastic and make it into something. So I started making plastic jewelry using different kinds of plastics. I created what I call I love plastic jewelry. And now what I'm doing is I'm using other material, plastic. I'm using plastic. I'm using styrofoam. I'm using tin can, metal. I'm using various papers. I'm using fibers. I'm using things I find in nature. I'm using all kinds of things to create these pendants and earrings, which, by the way, these are recyclable earrings. These earrings right here are made with styrofoam. So that's an example. And this little pendant here is made from plastic. And it's a combination of melting plastic and painting it and forming it into something and then adding collage material to that. Okay. So that was my process with using recyclable art. Okay, question, what do I do with a blank canvas? Well, I used to fear blank canvases a lot, but I really think that I cover the canvas as quick as possible. And sometimes, you know, like this painting up there, that painting is just simply a painting that I covered the background with paint that I had left over from a project with one of my classes. And I wanted to cover the canvas because there was something under the canvas I wasn't pleased with. Someone gave me that canvas, and I didn't like what was underneath it, so I just wanted to cover it. And that's what I did. Cover the canvas. I feel, too, because I'm a mixed media artist, I can always paint over what I'm not pleased with. If I put something on the canvas that, you know, I put a color on the canvas and it doesn't, like, I don't want it to stay there, I just paint over it. Or I put something over it. Okay. So I'm not afraid as much as I used to be. I think the reason why is because when I was working on a large painting, when I first got over this fear, one of my artist friends said to me, you know, just go in there and paint any color on the canvas. It doesn't matter. Just do it and get over the fear. And so I did. And that's how I got over the fear of a canvas. It's like your life, you know. It's like your life is kind of like a blank canvas. And you're the painter, you're the artist. The most important thing is to just do something. Do something with your life. Do something with the canvas, you know. Paint on the canvas. Start right where you are, you know. So that's what I did. Okay.
Was that it?
Okay.
Okay, those are the questions. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you want me to answer the one about creating a child?
What was the last question? I'm sorry.
Creating like a child? Creating
Yes.
art like a child?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think the reason why I both can do and paint like a child and love doing it is because, for one thing, I love the artist. The artist that influenced me greatly was Henry Matisse, or Henri Matisse. Not to say that he was childish or childlike, or his work was not childish. But he said one time, he said, you know, it took me years and years and years to learn how to paint like a child. Okay? And what he meant by that is simplification. Or what he meant by that is the non-sophistication that a child has when he paints or draws. And so I can connect to that. I have that ability to connect to that inner child within me when I do a particular style of work. It's almost like doing a coloring book line. I do a lot of my work like that. And also color. Color, you know, color can have rules, but as Matisse said, rules were made to be broken, and I break them all the time. And I love breaking color rules because a child doesn't think about rules. A child doesn't go, okay, this line goes here, and this shape goes here, and this color goes here. A child is like what they're doing when she or he starts to paint, because he or she, they're painting from their heart. They're painting from their inner in the inner spirit of themselves. And when I paint like that, that's what I connect to. I connect to that simplicity of myself, and I love doing it. And I love I love looking at a canvas and just and just starting to draw on it and not think about what I'm doing. Although I do lots of sketches sometimes, I have lots and lots of sketches on something on a particular subject. I oftentimes will maybe do a sketch and then I'll never look at that sketch again, because I want it to be spontaneous. I want it to be, when people look at it, I wanted them to feel the spontaneity of it. I don't want them to see it planned out. Because to me, the energy behind something that's planned out and something that is natural and intuitive and free is a difference between living and non-living. So, my art is definitely living. It's not perfect, but I don't care. I don't care. I don't want that perfectionism. I want that to be just very free, And a lot of my art is distorted. A lot of my art is emphasized. You'll see a lot of my women have very, very long noses or huge eyes that are not realistic. I do that on purpose because I want to emphasize that in my work, in my eyes, and in my faces. My faces aren't supposed to be realistic. Although I do portraits. People have come to me and said they want me to do their children, or they want me to do themselves or whatever, and then that's a totally different painting. That I have to use a grid. That I have to do lots of sketches because they want that to look like themselves. But they also have to like my style. They have to like my style before I'll even take them on. Okay. Question, huge question. What is art? That's a big question. I'm not even sure it has an answer. I do think that there's a difference between art and creativity. I do think there's a difference between being an artist and being a creator, being creative. Creativity is natural. Artist, or being an artist, or even the word art is a label. I remember a class that I took on the history of art, and it said that it wasn't until the Renaissance that the word art or artist was even known about. The word art and artist came from when people say, oh, he or she's an artist. That wasn't known about at the time. You know, indigenous people and people that lived a long, long, long time ago, art was a natural function of celebrating God. And that's all it was. It was a beautifying of something that they were going to use. They were going to use for eating or carrying their water or whatever. It was something that it was like an implement they were using in their life. They beautified it. But people weren't called artists. They were just people. And so I'm not even sure I even want to label myself as an artist. I kind of think that makes me like stand out, or or make me appear like I think I'm special, which I'm not. I work at my art, I work at my craft. I want to say craft because that's exactly what it is. I work hard at what I do. But when I die, I really don't want the word artist on my tombstone. I want the word creative, creator, co-creator. creative spirit. Any of those words are fine. Because artist to me is like I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I'm a that. I kind of think that, I don't like that label. Okay?
Very good.
And that's it.
That was great. That was so perfect. You gave me a lot of really wonderful stuff to work
Well,
with.
good.
So now I'm gonna just
You turn my camera off too?
yes, turn that off.
Fantastic.